Lycett situation. I'm going to write a book, The Lycett Situation. There's the cover. This has got out of hand. I'm a situation all of a sudden. I didn't want to be a situation. I just was a bit of light trolling and suddenly I'm a situation. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, actually, in this regard, I do want to be a situation because I care about this shit. And I'll explain why. Pride is an LGBTQ plus event. There's a lot of letters there. And often Pride and its sponsors only focus on the G, often gay men with six-packs. But there's a lot of other letters there that deserve our attention. For example, T for trans. I've got a lot of trans friends at the minute who feel really attacked, feel really unsafe. They feel really attacked by the right-wing press. They feel more attacked by my mum's friend Linda. She's the sort of person who says, a woman's place is in the home, and then spends 90% of her time in all bar one. She's a basic bitch. And she said to me once, she said, trans people are unnatural, whilst eating a punnet of seedless grapes, the irony of which did not pass me by. She had a go at me for painting my nails. I paint my nails now. I do it for two reasons. One, I like the colour. Also, I bite my fingernails because they're delicious. And when I paint them, it stops you from biting them. It's the only thing that seems to have worked. And she said, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't paint your nails. And I said, why is that, Linda? And she said, well, it's an essential part of being a woman, isn't it, wearing makeup? I said, I'm sorry, do you think your husband Kevin's going to see this, get confused and try and fuck me? Is that the issue? Extraordinary, a little change like that, the amount of comments you got. Of course, I expected some, but not as many as I got. I also wear this coat in the winter months. Oh, I mean, I want to fuck myself right now. That is, thank you. Yes, it's a faux fur. It's a faux fur. I'm aware it's a ridiculous thing to put on, but I didn't expect the amount of comments. I expected some. My favourite was in Liverpool. I had just done a gig at the Slaughterhouse Comedy Club, which is a brilliant comedy club in Liverpool. I was walking back to the hotel. A group of lads walked past me, and one of them went, "Hey, mate, Pat Butcher called. She wants her coat back." And I'm a comedian. I deal with hecklers all of the time, so I went back with a really witty response. I went, shut up, stupid prick. I was so pleased with it, so smart, so in the moment. Well done, Joe. I think what Linda and what a lot of people get confused about with trans people is the difference between sex and gender. Sex is your XX, XY chromosome. That's what you're born with, not lots you can do about it. Gender is what's put on top by society and culture. All of the things that we take for granted. Things like women wear skirts and men ride horses and punch dogs. All of the things that we take for granted. And I understand that women get the thick end of this wedge. The narrow criteria in which women are expected to dress and behave is very restrictive. This was made clear to me in a WhatsApp group of lads that I'm in which this was posted recently. This is Build a Babe. You have to construct a woman out of these 4 categories. The face, the boobs, the butt, the legs. No, the personality, or how much she reminds you of mother. None of that. This was debated more than most wars. They went with the girl second in, I think, the 2 girls on the far right for the boobs and bum, and then the girl second in on the legs. I did a bit of photoshopping. Yeah, she's pretty fit. I mean, not my type. I'd change one thing and I'd be happy, but each to their own. Each to their own. It's quite daunting, that size. So, it's LGBTQ+, if you're interested. That's lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, and then the plus is for all of the other letters, and there can be as many letters as there are people in the world. Some of the more popular ones are asexual, gender fluid. That's where you don't see your gender as a fixed thing. It can be different things at different times. I was explaining that to Peter on one occasion. He was like, yeah, I know what gender fluid is, but the name gender fluid, you can imagine what it smells like. Fair enough. Gosh, I had a heavy night. Covered in gender fluid in the morning, I was. There's I for intersex. That doesn't mean, oh, yeah, I'm intersex. I don't know what that is, but that's my intersex leg. There's P for pansexual, which is how I now define myself. It doesn't mean that I fuck things in the kitchen, as Linda amusingly observed. Non-stick surface, not when I'm around, Linda. Pan means different things to different people. To me, it's a form of bisexuality. I acknowledge that gender plays a role in why I'm attracted to people, but not necessarily the essential role. There's all sorts of common threads in our sexualities that we wouldn't otherwise acknowledge. You might only be attracted to blonde people, but you wouldn't say you were blonde sexual, but that would be a common thread. I think the common thread in my sexuality is everyone I'm attracted to is not attracted to me. That seems to be the common thread. Sometimes it's not not really about how they look or their gender or anything. It's just sort of more to do with how they hold themselves or how they sort of take control of a situation. I explained this to Linda in a very ham-fisted way. I was in Moseley Post Office in Birmingham, if you know Birmingham. There's 2 tills. There's one here, there's one here. On this till was a very young, very loud, very attractive, young, effervescent girl. She was wearing a Cath Kidston coat. She was going off like a human barocca. She was annoying. She's sort of girl who has live, laugh, love written in her living room, but has also been done for GBH. Do you know, she's an annoying person here. And then here was a really elderly, sort of octogenarian, crunched-over old woman, quite poor-looking, sort of Mary Berry if she didn't have money, just sort of crunched over like that. And she's going, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. She kept saying that, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And in the end she went, I can't hear you because you're shrieking! And I said to Linda, I said, I don't know what it was, but in that moment, the way she took control of that situation, the way she extinguished all of this woman's joy, the way everyone was looking at her, I thought she was so attractive, so beautiful. Obviously, I wouldn't do anything about it. And Linda was like, oh, what, are you ageist? I was like, no, I wouldn't do anything about it because she's poor. But the point is, there's all sorts of new identities flying around at the minute, new ways to describe yourself, and I think that's wonderful. But you've got 2 options when you encounter someone with an identity that you're not familiar with. You can be fearful of them, frightened, take the piss out of them, or be fascinated, ask them loads of questions, be curious. Kind of like when I first saw a platypus. I think they're amazing. They're mammals, they lay eggs. What the fuck are they? The first platypus that scientists found, they found a dead one. They did some scientific tests. Their conclusion, it's a fake. They thought that someone had sewn together a duck and an otter. Begs the question, who did they think was doing this? Like, oh, that's Martin, he loves doing that, Martin. Other day he brought this in, said it was a porpoise, obviously a dolphin and a bell end. Classic Martin, man. So by pride only sponsoring one of the letters and ignoring the other letters, I felt like they'd done a disservice to the community, so I wrote them a letter. Dear Barclays, you probably know why I'm writing you, bitch. You sponsored Tom Daley to go to Pride, daft bastard! Actually, it's great that you're sponsoring Pride. Pride is an LGBTQ+ event. It's about celebrating all of those letters and all the different types of identity that they represent. It's about people who are into kinky stuff. It's about some stuff that a lot of the people who work in your bank would find really weird. It's not just about a particularly attractive gay diver who you can use to improve the perception of your brand. So I'm writing to ask if you'll sponsor me, not to go to Pride, but to one of the less airbrushed events. I want you to sponsor me and my friend Paul Chuckle to go to the Folsom Fetish Festival in Berlin. It's a festival for people who are into leather and being tied up and wearing costumes. I went a couple of years ago and nearly got wanked off by a unicorn. I've mocked up a sample Instagram post. Naturally, the real thing will look much worse. Bob's your Uncle Joe Lycett. Now, bless you. That pasty photo came in handy, as you can see. Very useful there. Not had a reply from Barclays. I did send them another thing. I sent them a painting I did of Tom Daley. I'm not thrilled with it because I don't think it looks like Tom Daley, but I fucking nailed that hand, didn't I?